And the beat goes on, yeah, and you can ask everybody, you know, I'm the man, I'm the man, I'm the man. Hard Jobs LA at an earlier time here on Mother's Day. I guess I would be remiss if I didn't say Happy Mother's Day. Not that I think that any mothers are out there listening, but might be a few motherfuckers. Oh, hey now. Speaking of Mother's Day, went to the Dodger game yesterday. About beautiful day, 85 degrees out in the bleachers, Dodgers, Giants. But it's amazing to me how many mothers show up with infants. And look, you can call me a curmudgeon all you want. I know I'm in a lower class of people because I don't have kids myself. And if you don't have children in society today, you are definitely a lower class of person. But I'm sitting there thinking to myself, this is some kind of, is this not a form of child abuse? Everyone thinks it's all real, sweet. We got these moms out there, son, blaring down on these kids. What's the freaking point? Why would you bring? I think you need to be an age minimum to be able to go to sporting events. I would say at least 4 years old. At least be able to walk themselves. I mean, there's some freaking crazy people at these games. Not to mention that, a good percentage of them are drunk, getting in and out of it. I don't know why anybody would want to do it. But they bring them, bring these babies in, have them sit out in the sun all day. It's amazing, but, you walk down the street and you see a dog in the car, people go friggin' nuts, But if a baby is out there, I digress. This show's not about Mother's Day or baseball. It's about football. And about damn time the NFL draft came along. And it was worth it, I guess, worth the wait, even though they're going to push this weight on us for years to come. I guarantee you they're going to keep pushing it back week after week because you got Goodell on there saying, well, it's allowed some of our players to graduate and all that bullshit. Speaking of graduation, you got, 90-something, like 95 underclassmen came out, of which 38 of them, I think, specifically, didn't get drafted. Why? What is the big fucking deal? If someone doesn't get drafted, why don't they just let them go back to college? What is the deal? Why? How is that messed up? I guess, there's got to be some kind of middle ground there where if they're not, if you're on a fringe, if you're a fringe guy and you don't take any endorsement money, even still, the whole thing's a freaking mess. The whole way the NCAA does it, it's a joke. I don't even want to really get into that at this point. But why don't you just let them go back to school if they don't get drafted? Simple as that. Got to be a way to do that. Johnny Football finally drafted. Man, ESPN is doing everything in their power to make me not like Johnny Football. It's amazing. They mentioned Johnny Manziel. I forget the numbers. I got them written down somewhere. Like 3 times more than any other player, or 3 times more than any top 10 player combined. Gruden having a permanent hot on the whole time for Manziel. They all do. Of course, to me, I've looked at it this way. Anybody who really knows anything about football, well, I won't go that far, but your consensus among people who know something about football love Manziel. Defensive coaches love Manziel. Offensive coaches love to pick apart what he does wrong. But here's the deal. Throwing a football is not an exact science. People find different ways to do it. And Manziel just finds a different way. But I love him. Manziel finally gets announced. He comes out and does the money sign where you got half the other guys stop bawling, crying, which is not very man-like. I don't care. Fine, you're overcoming the emotion. It's a big day in your life. Fine. But they knew. The people with the cameras in their houses, they know they're going to get drafted. You would think they would have ample warning so they wouldn't cry. Just the day and age we live in. On Mother's Day, talking about mama's boys. A lot of these guys are mama's boys, which back in my day was frowned upon. Now, they celebrate that stuff. They celebrate guys like Michael Sam's getting drafted, planting a big wet kiss on his little white boyfriend. That's hilarious. I don't care. Again, I've said it many times to all my 10 listeners out there. I don't really care. It doesn't matter to me. But it's a tremendous risk to take a guy like that in. Take a guy in your program. Because there's going to be 1, 2, 3 guys that just do not like gays. And it's a matter of fact, there are certain religions, Catholicism being one, I know, I'm a recovering Catholic myself, that frown upon that stuff. So I don't like the way ESPN has just forced it down our throat that you have to accept it. Again, I don't care. If that's what you're into. But you don't have to force this stuff down our throat. Just a major risk for an organization. What if your quarterback or your best player decides that he doesn't want to play with Michael Sam or makes an offhanded comment about fags or gays, and now all of a sudden you have a Jonathan Martin situation times 10 because ESPN will ask for blood if a player gets caught saying anything derogatory towards Michael Sams. You don't need to see it. Of course, the counter argument is, oh, you're ignorant. You don't mind seeing A.J. McCarron kiss his girlfriend. No, that's fine. I don't mind it either. I just something against two unattractive people making out, kissing on TV. I don't want to watch it, but it's here. Good luck. I don't even think Michael Sams makes the team. I think they'll keep him. They'll keep him out of principle, I guess. But as a marketing move, I guess it's a good idea. I'm sure Michael Sam jersey's going to go through the roof. Shit, Jason Collins shirts went through the roof, and Jason Collins stinks. Terrible player. It's the same thing with Manziel. A lot of these teams passing on Manziel. Cleveland's season tickets went up something like 2,000 more season tickets just by drafting Manziel. You want your team to be relevant, so go out and get relevant players. Johnny Manziel certainly is one of them. Russell Wilson is another one as well. This is the hater in me. I think it's kind of funny that Russell Wilson's getting a divorce. Just because he's so holier than now. If you happen to follow Russell Wilson on Twitter, don't. But he's so, everything is blessed and all this and how he's so blessed. Jesus is doing everything for him. But the last time I checked, divorce was a sin. Again, that's my recovering Catholicism coming out in me, but isn't that frowned upon in the biblical world? Pretty sure it is. Of course, there's rumors floating around out there that Golden Tate, wide receiver Golden Tate for Seattle, who just recently signed with Detroit, was giving it to Russell Wilson's wife, which is actually one of those things that comes up from time to time, like the Steve Nash incident, Jason Richardson. Steve Nash had a baby with his daughter, and the day the daughter was born, he divorced her, and the rumor is, it's never been confirmed nor denied, that Jason Richardson was tagging Steve Nash's wife. It might be the same thing in Russell Wilson. Of course, there's that big contingency out there that said Russell Wilson's gay, but I don't buy any of it. Before we get into the draft, let's talk specific. Let's talk Patriots draft. And to talk Patriots draft, we're going to bring in Slush for Debt for some lukewarm, humid takes out in Nashua. Slush, are you there? No, I guess not. Hold on. We're having technical difficulties. Just go through the draft until we get this clown on the horn. Speaking of Clowney number one, I guess that's a no-brainer, right? Now you're looking at a D-line that's just going to dominate for years to come with Clowney, Watt, picking up Lewis Nix in the third round. I like the way these teams are actually building with a plan up front. Go out and get the best defensive lineman you can find. And I think that's what Houston did, and they went and they got Tom Savage to just the quarterback needs. Houston be fine. They'll run the football. They'll play great defense. But they actually have a plan. And I don't know if the Patriots do have a plan. Let's bring Slush for that in to see. Slush, do the Patriots actually have a plan? What do you think of this draft?
How we doing, Coach? Thanks for taking my call.
Oh, yeah. Well, I tried to get you on here last week with a phone call for an interview, but I got stiffed. But we don't want to get into that.
Yes, a lot of stiffing going on. Hey, I think it's pretty clear they have a plan. It's just a long-term plan, So I wasn't what I was hoping for. I want to do things now. I want to cash in while the Brady token's still on the table, But I think it's pretty clear that they're looking 2015 and beyond here.
Screw that. Don't you think they can get a quarterback, especially a non-Division I AA quarterback? I mean, the quarterbacks come up every freaking year. You know what I'm saying? Don't you think they could do that later?
I would agree with you. I mean, especially when, to me, one of the things we needed was a little insurance policy against Gronk, and there was a whole host of tight ends taken right after we took that quarterback. So, to me, that was a need we have this year, and they chose to go with some guy that looks like, I don't know, looks like he's playing fucking high school ball out there. Now, maybe he's nasty. They must have thought highly of him because they really wanted him, it seems. And it seems like the other people had him pretty high too. But I agree. I mean, we're not going to see this guy on the field for at least 2 years. So I would have liked to have done something more immediate.
But what about guys like Jarvis Landry, the receiver from LSU? Am I the only one that recalls at the end of the season that Brady's throwing to fucking Austin Collie and Steve Slater in the AFC Championship game? I mean, can you have enough wide receivers?
That's so true. And not only that, really the whole thing's a different equation when Gronk's on the field. So if we have Gronk on there, everything looks a little bit different. Well, if Gronk's not going to be, we don't even know when he's going to come back. Why not give Brady? He likes to work in the middle of the field. Why not give him another guy? I mean, who's it going to be at tight end? Who is he going to throw to? What is going to be the tight end for the first few weeks of the season when Gronk's rehabilitating?
It's frustrating.
I don't know. It's very frustrating.
And then you watch Billy get up there and just play that he's so much smarter than everybody else. You know what I mean? But we do remember they drafted Kevin O'Donnell from Rutgers, quarterback, in 2007 in the third round. Ryan Mallett in 2010 or 11 in the third round. What have those guys done? And I'll answer the question for you. They ain't done shit. And it's amazing that they can bring in Garoppolo. And here's the thing with Garoppolo. I actually think he's pretty good, and I think he could be real good. But here's the thing that really chaps my ass. Soon as Tom Brady goes out and puts up a couple of bad games, might not be this year, might not be the next year, but it might be the following year. As soon as Brady comes out and throws a couple 3-pick games, you're going to have ass clowns like Chris Maley shouting at the fucking from the rooftops to put Garoppolo in. And I just think Tom deserves better than that.
Well, I think that's why some people wanted to go, Manziel's dropping so low. Why, if you wanted a quarterback, why not get him? You don't want to create that controversy, man. You don't want to stir that pot enough. Exactly like you said, that's not going to be healthy and conducive to the team. There's no way that guy's going to keep his powder dry and hold a clipboard for 2 years. So maybe this guy, people won't feel that. Maybe this guy, they won't be calling for him in that sense. I don't know. The player, they seem like they like the player. I don't have anything against him. I watched his highlight reel. I think he threw for 5,000 yards. It must be he's doing something right. But it just seems like why now? Why in the second round did we want to do that? You still have Mallett under contract for another year. Are we saying there's not going to be anyone that good in the quarterback draft available next year? Or maybe the year after that? I don't understand.
Right. Or serviceable backups. Look, let's not freaking mince words. If Brady gets hurt, they're not going to win the Super Bowl unless they have some kind of superstar. Now, people like to point at, and Belichick did it himself at the press conference that really fucking chapped my ass. Oh, we were able to win 11 games that one year. Fine, they were. But they didn't make the playoffs that year, even though they were 11-5. They weren't going to win the freaking Super Bowl, and that team was loaded with defensive talent. It just amazes me.
Yeah, and it didn't hurt that he was throwing it to Randy Moss when he was still getting things done. When Randy Moss was still willing to actually jump up in the air to catch a football, which he quit doing at the end. But, yeah, I agree. I don't get that. What do you think about the first pick, though? I feel like there's enough upside where I liked rolling that dice on Easley.
Well, here's the deal with that first pick, and I agree. It seems like ACL is like an oil change. It's like Tommy John surgery. It seems like guys come back nowadays better with that. Yeah. They say this guy is a freak athlete, and they said if he, what the fuck do they know? They say if he was healthy coming through, he would have been a top 10 pick. And, they need disruptors up front. I don't have a big problem with that pick, even though I think they could have got him in the spot where they got Garoppolo, and they could have got someone else, especially a receiver early on. I like that pick. I actually like the O-line guys. They got Stork from Florida State. I think he's a good player, of course. And anytime you bring a Fleming into the equation from the guy from Stanford, your team's automatically going to get better. But it's just, I don't know. It just seems like all these other teams got so much fucking better, and the Patriots didn't get better once again. Now, they got better in the offseason, obviously bringing in Revis and Browner. But shit, why couldn't they go out and get a ball hawk? It seems to me that Rex Ryan freaking outdoes the Patriots in the draft the last 4 or 5 years. And Sexy Rexy's problem is he just couldn't get the quarterback, whereas the Patriots have the quarterback, so they feel like they're playing with house money. But he goes out.
That will be enough, though. That'll be enough. Geno Smith will make sure that the Patriots win the division,
I don't know. Buffalo's Buffalo has improved. Buffalo's defense is fast. That's another thing. Losing out on Brandon Spikes. And I kind of like what Brandon Spikes is now actually being able to show his personality because he's been under wraps in New England the last 4 years. He's a difference maker. When that guy plays, it's a difference maker. Buffalo has players. Buffalo's going to be tough. The Jets are going to be tough.
One of my favorite Patriots. At what he does, he's elite at it. If you want to run stuff and a dude with bad news and bad intentions, he's an elite at that level. But I mean, Buffalo's still Buffalo. So don't worry about that. They'll always be Buffalo. They've been Buffalo for as long as I can remember, so I don't sweat any of those fools.
Well, you do.
Miami's imploding under the weight of their own shittiness and controversy. Tannehill seems like the lights might be a little too bright for him. It's still us. It's still going to be us in Denver, but I just feel like maybe a really sick tight end, if Gronk would have been the difference. Gronk could be the difference, and if Gronk's not available, we need someone to kind of defray the damage from him not being around. I just feel like there was so much to do there. Shoring up your offensive line is nothing wrong with that. You know, if you don't have an offensive line, you're a bad football team. So I don't have any problem with that. All the late round guys are a real stretch anyway, so hopefully something that happens there, but no big deal if it doesn't. To me, I like the first pick. It was just that quarterback pick right there. That could have been, you could have had, I would rather have A.J. McCarron in the 4th round than have this guy in the 2nd. You know, so what was the rush for this guy? Why did he have to be there right then and there? That's just what I don't get.
I completely agree. And there's a lot of people saying, oh, well, you don't know what Belichick knows. Fuck that. It's the same freaking thing. It's the same sun dance we saw with Mallet. And like I already said, it's a lose-lose situation. If Garoppolo comes in and tears it up and he's some kind of stud, then everybody's going to be calling for freaking Brady's head. And if he stinks and doesn't play, right now he's the third-string fucking quarterback. You're going to upset a second-round pick for a third-string quarterback?
Right, exactly.
Absolutely. You must be excited, though, about this particular draft. Well, Michael Sam and all. I know you're a big fan. What'd you think of Michael Sam's situation?
I just have to imagine that I would think that the SEC co-defensive player of the year, someone might want to take a chance on that guy more than the 240 other dudes taken before him. You know, I mean, you can't tell me that there isn't something that deterred teams from taking him, you know, until the very, very end of the draft. So I'm glad he made a team. We'll see what happens. You know, he can go out, but shit, that's a tough team to get a job as a pass rusher on. I mean, they are deep at pass rush over there. So we'll see if that's, you know, if there's room for him on that team. But, I mean, I think it's pretty clear teams didn't want the controversy. They didn't want the story. They didn't want the headline in their camp, you know?
And the risk. And like I just said earlier in the program, what if one of your stud players calls him a fag? Now you got Jonathan Martin situation times fucking 12. And right. It's a blow up. For what? For a guy who's going to be a marginal pass rusher maybe in the NFL? Ridiculous.
Well, I'm sure they know what their locker rooms look like. But I guess I don't remember what number he was taking. 232nd or 225th or whatever it was. But I guarantee you this much: he wasn't the first gay guy drafted in that draft. You know what I'm saying?
249. Yeah, I know. But there's a difference between someone who handles their business at home and then someone who puts their business out in public. And he's freaking kissing the freaking hairless white boy freaking that he was freaking sticking his tongue down his fucking. It's just not worth it. It's just not worth it. And I don't think St. Louis is just a model of, stability that they can go out and make that pick. But regardless.
Well, if you're productive, look, if he was productive in the SEC, so I don't see why you wouldn't rather, with your last throwaway 7th-round pick, to take a chance on that guy versus some guy from the fucking Sisters of the Poor like we took. You know what I mean?
He was, he had 11 and a half sacks. But, yeah, he's like the first SEC Defensive Player of the Year in like the last 8 or 9 years and not get taken the first or second round. So there's a reason for that.
I would think that title alone would get you, okay, I get it that he's not the ideal guy and he's kind of one-dimensional. So maybe you get pushed back to 4th. Maybe you get pushed down to 5th. All the way down to the very end, dude, no one wanted to touch him. No one wanted to touch him.
I know. Well, you're going to sell jerseys, though. I'm sure you're going to go out and buy one in the next couple of days. So, I mean, if that's what they want to do, that's what we want to do. But did you watch the whole fucking thing?
Yeah, I wish them the best of luck. I hope, I always want to see some teams that are really terrible become good. I wouldn't mind seeing this Johnny Football show continue on. I'll watch that for a while. I wouldn't mind Jacksonville starting to get a little respect somewhere in this league. I'm rooting for some of these players, some of these teams that are down in the dumps,
Well, nothing lasts forever. And you were saying, Buffalo's still going to be Buffalo. But shit, when I was in high school, way back then, Buffalo went to the fucking Super Bowl every year. So, things come around.
Dude, Buffalo knows how to lose. That team will fuck up a free lunch. That is for sure.
Yeah, you say the same thing about Jacksonville, but I thought Jacksonville went out and had a great draft. I think Bortles is going to be a solid quarterback. I know Allen Robinson's going to be a really good receiver. They went out and did some things, and, nothing. It just seems like all these other teams have plans. Marquise Lee for Jacksonville, stud. It just seems like they have plans, and the Patriots don't. I don't know. They used to be in love. Bill Belichick used to be in love with these big D linemen. This guy they drafted easily is an undersized D lineman now. What is the philosophy? Seattle has a philosophy. They just want guys who are fast on defense, and guys that are big on offense and they can run the ball. San Francisco wants to run the football. I think there's a great draft pick with Carlos Hyde. What the hell is the Patriots' plan? How would you define how the Patriots play?
Well, first of all, they didn't have the cover guys before that they had now. So I think the personnel he's got is going to enable him to kind of change up his system a little bit. But I would agree with you. I thought San Francisco, certain teams have identities, and they pick guys that fit their identity. San Francisco is one of them. Pittsburgh drafted guys that fit Pittsburgh's mold and who they are. Patriots seem like they're a little different. They seem like they don't always have tendencies. They don't always have an identity, and maybe that's part of their success. I always thought the best thing about Charlie Weiss is you didn't know what fucking play he was going to call. And I think that's part of New England's thing. They're like water, man. They can fit into any container and take any shape. We can be an offensive juggernaut with 5 wides, or we can become a running play-action team the next season. So I think they really are open to play a type of ball that mirrors the personnel that they have. I just think there's still some gaping holes. I wish they went after that, preferably, a safety, a pass rusher, and a tight end. And they didn't seem like that's really where they needed to go. At least they didn't feel that way.
Or a fucking receiver. There was 16 receivers, difference makers, right off the board this year, and they didn't go out and get any of them. They're going to come back.
They're hoping.
Helping what?
Dobson, Dobson season 2. Hopefully, Brady can't throw outside. He can't throw to the sidelines that well, anyways. It's all in between the hashes. It's all slot guys and tight ends. So I would have rather, if you wanted something like that, I'd rather them beef up something like that. And that's why some of these tight ends look unbelievable, man. Some of these dudes look like they were 6'9" and jumping out of the building and beasts. And I don't know why we wouldn't want one of these dudes that kind of fits a Gronk mold when Gronk's on ice.
Yeah. Well, maybe they'll bring someone. They signed some giant today. I forget what the guy. He's like 6'9", tight end. He's the biggest guy in the draft, but he can't block. But they call these guys tight ends. It's like Jimmy Graham. Jimmy Graham's getting hosed. I don't know if you're following this with the whole franchise tag. They're trying to tag him as a franchise tight end so they can pay him like $5 million less a year. He's not a fucking tight end. He's a slot receiver. He's just, you know what I'm saying? It's just, there is no real true blocking tight ends except Husham Madanoa, or whatever the fuck his name is, the Patriots have. Or Matt Mulligan. How many more games are we going to watch a guy like Matt Mulligan fucking barreling down the field for the Patriots?
It's just labels. It's just labels, man. It's just labels.
Well, what are you going to do? Bottom line is Patriots are still going to be 11-5 and probably win the division next year. I would just like to see him go out and get difference makers. That's all I'm saying. You can call me a neophyte. You can call me a Philistine all you want. Maybe I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. I don't bow down and suck the Belichick cock like the rest of you freaking clowns. But
we'll keep a fucking spot warm for you. Sure you would, dude. You come to visit. You'll fucking get out the knee pads.
Yeah.
It's San Francisco. It's San Francisco in the NFC, and fucking us and Denver fighting it out. And fuck Denver. It's New England and San Francisco in the Super Bowl. San Francisco is the hottest looking team in the league.
Yeah, you're gonna say Seattle's done? Why?
Definitely not done.
Tough to repeat.
Think it's a tough division. It's tough to repeat. I don't know. I just think the bloom's gonna come off the rose a little bit, man.
And
they got to a point last year where they had a hard time. They had a hard time scoring a little bit at the end of the year, and I just think San Francisco knows who they are. As much as that guy's an unbalanced psycho as a coach, I think he knows football, and I don't know. I just think that team. I think San Francisco's really got what it takes.
Carlos Hyde was a steal. the running back from Ohio State, was an absolute steal. Another big back that can pound the ball. Of course, they got Marcus Lattimore coming. Yeah, San Fran, it just seems like all these teams are better. And the only thing the Patriots got going for, I shouldn't say the only thing, they're going to be good, but, still got Tommy. I don't know. I got a bunch of other bullshit I want to talk about. Hey, thanks for calling. Thanks for finally getting back to me freaking after stiffing us last week.
All right, Coach. Good talking to you.
I'm just kidding, Stiff. All right, Slush.
And, Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there listening.
I will. All right, I'll give my best. I don't think there are any mothers. Like I said, there's some motherfuckers, but no mothers. Later.
All right, Coach.
Oh, this draft. I know I spend so much time talking about the damn Patriots, but I had so much other shit I wanted to talk about and all this freaking draft going through it. Clowney, no-brainer, Houston. Robinson, I don't know, the guys, they say he's a bully of the D-line, and I think St. Louis' second pick was better anyways. I think Aaron Donaldson, to me, was the best defensive player in the draft. Just a difference maker. Now you got a D-line in St. Louis. Chris Long, Quinn, Donald. Good luck trying to get the ball off against those guys. Same thing with Houston. Picking up Clowney. Of course, obviously, you have Watt and Lewis Nix. But even Jacksonville, picking third. I got to give it. Blake Bortles, I think, is going to be good. And he's from the area. And they're supposedly saying they're going to redshirt him, which seems to be the new in vogue term that guys like Todd McShay and Mel Kiper. Although I like Mel Kiper. Mel Kiper's grandfathered in with me. He's one of those guys that's just half of what he says is complete nonsense. I think his percentage of getting picks right has got to be in the low 20s, if that. Todd McShay. And I didn't realize Todd McShay is from Swampscott, Massachusetts. He sucks, too. And he's another one of these guys that likes to, come out against the things he's actually doing. Bitching about underclassmen, even though he comes out with these books about all these underclassmen going to be taken in first and second round, guys that never even get drafted. They influence way more than they think. And fools like me sit down and watch the draft. Shit, I must have watched, I don't know, close to 12 hours, maybe 15 hours of draft coverage in the last few days. And it's the worst. You record these games nowadays, or record the draft. That's the one thing about living out here in the West Coast. Everything starts so much earlier. 5 o'clock now, stupid back-to-school night. I got a back-to-school night with 3 weeks left in the school year. So I got about 15 friggin' text messages and trying not to look so I can go home and watch it. And then you end up fast-forwarding through everything. It's just no good. But, small price to pay. Speaking of paying a price, the Bills traded with the Browns, gave him next year's first-round draft choice for Sammy Watkins. I like it. Sammy Watkins is a baller. Sammy Watkins is a difference maker. I like teams that are actually going out and trying to make things happen. And I think Sammy Watkins is a guy who's going to make things happen. They end up turning around and giving up Stevie Johnson to San Fran again. Why does it seem like the same teams are the ones that go out and try to get playmakers? San Fran seems like they actually want to go out and try to compete for a Super Bowl, where other teams are just kind of floating around. Although this is a deep draft, and I see a lot of teams getting better. And you're going to add 2 more teams into the playoffs, probably not next year, but the following year. Who knows? Parity is what they strive for so much in the NFL. They found it because a lot of these teams have made themselves better. Oakland, going out getting Khalil Mack. Mike Mayock, another guy I like, even though he's kind of a blowhard and uses the same terms over and over again. He's a real football guy. I like Mike Mayock. Oakland going out and getting Khalil Mack. Had some people, like I said, have him number 1 overall. Guy's a real difference maker. Good for the Raiders. Still would have liked to see the Raiders try to trade back in the first round and pick up Manziel. But they went out and got Derek Carr. And it's funny how the only real knock that they keep bringing up about Derek Carr is that his brother's David Carr. You can't compare that. You can't compare it to just because there's no negative is that his family bloodlines, that his brother didn't have a successful career. So much of being successful is contingent on who you have around you in the NFL, as Bill Belichick likes to tell everyone, the National Football League. Jake Matthews to Atlanta, no-brainer, stud, football pedigree. Need to protect Matt Ryan. Went out and did it. Tampa Bay going out and getting a playmaker, Mike Evans, great player. Tampa Bay now has 2 giants on the outside with Mike Evans and Vincent Jackson. Jake McCown thrown to him. I think he'd be solid. Tampa Bay will be fine. Cleveland obviously getting Johnny Football, changing the scope of the franchise, having LeBron James wearing Cleveland Browns Manziel jerseys. You're telling me that's not worth the 22nd pick? Went out and got Justin Gilbert, they say was the best playmaker at corner. Minnesota getting Anthony Barr. I think Anthony Barr is a little bit overrated, to be honest with you. I've watched him play a number of games at UCLA, but he's an athlete. Detroit, I think, with a great pick, picking up Eric Ebron. Eric Ebron's the type of guy we were talking about. Type of guy that's going to stretch that slot. He's going to play the middle of the field. Now you got Calvin Johnson on the outside, Golden Tate on the outside, Reggie Bush swinging out of the backfield. Please, an embarrassment of riches. If Detroit doesn't actually turn things around now, I don't think they ever will. Tennessee, Tyler Lewan. I'm one offensive tackle, Michigan, another good player. And I'm one of the few people out there still thinks that Jake Locker can be good. I think Jake Locker just had some shit luck. I think Jake Locker's got potential to be a great player. An all-pro type guy. Maybe not an all-pro type guy, but a Pro Bowl anyways. Chicago going defense. Had a great offense last year. I think Trestman is one of the few guys that really knows what he's doing offensively, has a plan. Go out and get some defenders. Speaking of plan, Pittsburgh going out and getting a guy that's a hybrid type linebacker, a Palomalu type, maybe a little bit bigger, not quite as fast, but a guy who's all over the field, and Ryan Shazier making plays. And getting the award for the most awkward hug with Roger Goodell. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a fucking weirdo, but I just can't stand guys that just hug and just hold on for that extra long, creepy time. I wish somebody I'm sure somebody on the internet somewhere had a stopwatch on the amount of hugs, how long they were hugging Goodell. I can't stand it when people, I could see if you don't see somebody for years, you give them a hug, but the guys who want to do guy on guy hug every time they see you see them like 2 days later, they want to give you a long hug. Baltimore, staying true to what they do, going out and getting defensive players, hard-nosed, big players. C.J. Mosley, who I thought was the best linebacker in the country this year. And the Jets doing what they do, going out and getting Calvin Pryor, who everybody said was the hottest hitting safety on the board. I can't stress enough how much I think great safety play can change the culture of a team. You go back to the Ronnie Lotts of the world, Ed Reed, even guys like John Lynch. Those are guys. Those are the guys in the back end of your last line of defense, and they're unblocked most of the time. That's the thing. That's one of the things that drives me nuts about the Patriots as well. McCourty's all right, but he doesn't come up and blast people. Rex wants to form a team, a defensive team, in his vision of it, which is guys are going to come off and knock your head off. Sorry for using such strong language in football, but Miami going out and dressing the offensive line. Miami still can't get their act together, even though Goodell talks about these programs they have for management and how to run a professional organization. What happens as soon as they draft an lineman? Mike Pouncey, who is just as guilty as Richie Incognito, but Richie got found. Richie was kind of left holding the bag because I think he was a little bit louder and bigger asshole than Pouncey, but Pouncey was right there with him. First thing he does is go out and tweet, can't wait to see what type of gifts he gives us. Jesus Christ. I'm about not learning. And then we go around when Mike Sam gets drafted, one of their players, what was the guy's name? Don something, I don't know. He was nobody saying how disgusted he was. Jumps right on Twitter after this whole big off season of all this bullshit and staying off Twitter. What do? First chance they get out there and put out to the world how much they still haze and how much they hate gays. Gotta love the Dolphins. Saints with a great pick in the first round. Love Brandon Cooks, playmaker. Funny how these teams that want to make plays go out and get playmakers. Real difficult game. What else? Keaton City going out and getting pass rush help. D Ford. Guys flies. At the Senior Bowl, they said he was most unblocked. Him and Donald, the two most unblockable players. Translates to worthy draft picks. That's another thing I hate about the Garoppolo pick with the Patriots. Oh, the value with this pick. Yeah, the value is going to do a shit ton when he's sitting on the bench. What about special teams? Don't you think you got to get guys in the second round that can contribute to special teams if they're not going to come out right away and start for you, which obviously Garoppolo's not? Green Bay goes out and gets Ha-Ha Clinton Dix, ball hawk, and a favorite of this program. Cincinnati goes out and gets arguably the best corner in the draft, Daquez Denard. San Diego goes out and gets a corner. Philly goes out and gets a pass rusher. Arizona goes out and gets a hot-hitting safety. Carolina goes out and gets a big physical receiver in Calvin Benjamin, guy that will bail out Cam Newton when Cam Newton wants to throw it up. You throw it up all up to these 6'5" guys. It's tough to defend. You got these 6'5", you got a 6'5" receiver in Calvin Benjamin going up against a guy who's drafted 3 slots in front of him, Jason Verrett, 5'9". And you know how I feel about height. I think it's an overrated thing, but not at that spot. You want to throw the jump ball up. Benjamin's got it over Verrett. Just, sheer physics of the damn thing. Throw the ball up. He's going to go over. He's going to go up guys, or, guys like Alfonso Denard or Daquez Denard or Jason Verrett. All these corners. Not all of them. Of course, they love to bring out there's a lot of big corners that came out this year, and they want to say that's the Richard Sherman effect. I guess it's a copycat league. Another safety, San Fran going out and getting another safety that makes play. Jimmy Ward, guy who was all over the field for Northern Illinois. An effort guy. Which is what I did like about one of the saving graces about what the Patriots did when they picked Dominique Easley is Ray Lewis had some bold praise saying that he saw Dominique Easley dominate Miami just on effort alone. Gotta like that. It's all right, Bill. You're not a total idiot. Denver goes out and gets another corner. Bradley Roby is one of these guys that's back and forth with effort and consistent play. Bottom line, though, he's a talent. He's a talent at DB. Put him across from Talib. On the other side of Talib, you got 2 shutdown guys. You got pass rushing DeMarcus Ware and Von Miller. And you got a stud quarterback. I don't know what they're going to do about their running back situation, but they'll find someone. Like we talked about before, it seems like the running back situation in the league. I mean, the first running back didn't go to what? Pick 50-something? It was the longest it's happened, even though there was some good backs in this draft, like there are in all drafts. But you look at it, though, the real difference makers and the great backs on Super Bowl teams are always highly drafted guys. Even Marshawn Lynch was a first-round pick. Frank Gore would have been a first-round pick, but he had injury questions, which he overcame. See it all the time. You got to be able to pound the football. Edgerrin James back with the Colts in those days. Even Antoine Smith with the Patriots. Corey Dillon was a high-drafted guy. I don't think you can go in with, I don't want to say scrubs, but second-tier guys. I mean, shit, I'm not a fantasy football player, but isn't fantasy football always the running backs taken first? Am I incorrect with that? Isn't it always the top 10 and like 8 of them are running backs? For some reason, they don't value them as much. What do I know? Of course, they like to go to that war room, which I think is a foolish term to use, war room. I believe it does come from Dr. Strangelove, though. And that room was called the war room as well, but it's there's no war involved. It's a game played by millionaires. And I love taking a look around those rooms, and, you got the owner who's always looks kind of eccentric and a little bit aloof, followed by a bunch of Poindexter types that all dress the same way in those light blue business casual shirts, clean shaven, nice haircuts in front of their computers. They always have those hipster glasses on. They all got that same look. I think you have to have that look if you want to be an NFL personnel guy. Second round, Texans again going out and getting Suafila. Freaking lineman from UCLA. Speaking of UCLA, former player of mine, Brandon Sermons, went out and signed a free agent contract today with Arizona Cardinals. This guy who could make the team. Big kid, 6 feet, 6'1", 200 pounds, ran a 4.35 at the combine, something like that. You beat somebody up. Good luck to Brandon Sermons. And then NFL trying to bring back the old players. I thought it was a fun game trying to guess who those players were. But Jesus Christ, talking about dragging it on. Goodell had to make the announcement who the guy was who was going to make the announcement. Add on another hour, 2 hours to the draft. That's all right. I enjoyed most of it. Browns again. People just having huge praise for Joel Bitonio. Saying just a mean Richie Incognito type. I don't know if I read that somewhere. I don't know if that's a great comparison to make it to. But Browns putting together now. They got Joe Thomas. They've had some problems up front. Got Bitonio. Defense, they went out and signed guys in the offseason. They went out and signed, TJ Ward, the safety. Big playmaker. They went out and drafted Gilbert. Went out and got Carlos Dansby, who's a good linebacker for the Browns. Go with the Browns. The Browns deserve to be relevant again. Atlanta going out and getting a guy I was really high on because I got a chance to see him play. Rashid Hageman, freak athlete, 6'6", 310 out of Minnesota. Atlanta went out of their way to get bigger and more physical up front, both sides of the ball, and they accomplished that by getting him and Matthews. Tampa Bay goes out and gets another big weapon. The tight end from Washington, Safarian Jenkins, another 6'5" guy. They love to talk about, one of the buzzwords they love to talk about is catching radius, but it makes sense. You got these big guys boxing people out and going over them. Went out and got another one. Jacksonville, Marquise Lee. I thought he was a first-round talent. I got a chance to watch him play a lot. Was hurt a lot this year, but a legitimate playmaker. Slips to Jacksonville. Jacksonville goes and turns their franchise around in one day. Philadelphia goes out and gets a receiver that I was really high on as well. One of two seniors that got drafted in the first couple of rounds, Jordan Matthews from Vanderbilt. Buddy of mine coached at Vanderbilt and raved about Jordan Matthews. He's going to tear it up in Philly. Chip Kelly going out and getting weapons. He also went out and got that other guy. Who was it? The guy who played for him there. I forget his name, but what's his name? Josh Huff from Oregon went out. That's a benefit of guys who go back down and coach at the college level and then come back up to the pro level. They see what happens at the college level, and I don't care what anyone says. Guys that produce in college, not always, but there's a decent chance they're going to go out and produce at the pro level. I think Chip Kelly went out and got guys that he saw actually coach against and saw and played against or recruited himself and went out and drafted them. Jim Harbaugh came from the college level, even though obviously he played in the pros. Pete Carroll, no doubt. I think these guys get in the NFL and then they delude themselves and how things are done in the NFL. I think Bill Belichick's a perfect example. He's just been stuck in the NFL. It becomes institutionalized. He always talks about the national football. I don't think any rookies are ready to play in the National Football League. Piss off. Guys can come in and play in the National Football League as a rookie. Happens all the time. Happens every year. Guys come in and make differences immediately. These athletes are so well trained. The game's changed so much. They've been coached, albeit not always well, but they've been coached hard since they were in 8th, 9th grade, which is different than back in the day where the science teacher used to be the head football coach. Head football coach, especially in areas like this, areas like Texas, the big-time areas, those dudes are putting just as much time, maybe not as much time, but damn close as much time as the college level, in the pro level. First real running back taken, well, I shouldn't say real running back, but traditional back, Bishop Sankey to Tennessee. Like it. Tennessee big up front. Jake Locker, this could be a year they had to go out and replace Chris Johnson. I think they went out and did. Then there was a run on running backs. I want to say Cincinnati went out and got Jeremy Hill, even though last year they went out and got Giovanni Bernard in the first or second round. They went out and got Jeremy Hill. Obviously, Ben Jarvis Green Ellis is on his way out. Love Jeremy Hill. Big physical back. Denver goes out and gets Cody Latimer. Another embarrassment of riches to Denver. Another guy you could throw to. If Cody Latimer goes out and puts up a 1,000-yard season this year, I might hand in my Patriot fandom badge. I might just quit. Patriots could easily, with all the draft picks and stuff they've stored up over the years, they could have easily traded up and got someone like that. What else? New Orleans going out and get the best name for the best team. I feel like Chris Berman and his stupid fucking name puns you have to sit through. Stanley Jean-Baptiste fits into New Orleans. Big physical corner. Speaking of big corners, 6'2", 6'3", raw. I love to say he's in that Richard Sherman mold. Jarvis Landry going to Miami as a pick after the Patriots wasted on Garoppolo, in my opinion. Another guy the Patriots could have had. Or CJ, what's his name? Fedorowicz or something from Iowa. Houston, to me, Houston was the big winner in this draft. They'll find their quarterback at some point. Hey, man, it might not be this year, but next year. So they run out there and throw TJ Yates out there, whoever else they want to throw out there. So they go 8-8 because they're going to be that good in defense alone. They go out, you go out and get a quarterback. There are a lot of quarterbacks just sitting out there. I think Ryan Mallett is a guy who needs an opportunity to play. I don't know. Opportunity to play. Prince Shembo's getting an opportunity to play. Name sounds like a bad Disney cartoon character and some kind of evil prince. Prince Shembo from Notre Dame. The only reason I bring that guy up is talked about this before on the program. He was identified as the potential sexual assailant against Lizzie Seberg, who was a student at St. Mary's, which is the sister school to Notre Dame. Evidently, there was some kind of contact. She ended up going to the police about it. They ended up not doing anything about it. She went out and killed herself. An interesting story about this, something I found fascinating, is they said she made a statement, all right, saying that this guy assaulted her. But after she killed herself, that statement is no longer admissible. Makes no sense to me. If someone makes a sworn statement and they die, it means that their word is gone now? Makes no sense, but hey, Prince Shembo ends up getting drafted by the Falcons. So no sweat off his brow, I guess. Lachey Seastrunk. Love saying that name. Lachey Seastrunk. Say it 5 times. I read some things, and I was one of those fools that ended up getting one of those magazines that ranked all the players. He was ranked the number 1 running back. Ends up going in the 6th round of the Redskins. Guy had a productive career at Baylor, and he runs a sub-4 540. Good 6th round pick. Sam Frango, like I talked about before, went out and got Carlos Hyde, who I thought was the best running back in the draft. A big physical back, averaged like 6.5 yards a carry in the Big Ten. Not an easy thing to do. The guy goes out and does it, and for some reason, these guys just slip. Nobody thinks that the running back position is valued anymore, except Eric Dickerson on his Twitter account. They just push this Twitter stuff on everyone. ESPN wants to put it up every 2 seconds with some kind of old timer has to say about something. But hey, it makes us all feel important. If you see your name thrown up there in some kind of tweet, makes us feel important. Speaking of feeling important, I don't know why. This is something I've talked about before. I'm going to talk about it again because I want to. Why doesn't the NFL have some type of fan council where they could where every franchise, every team has a vote to elect their representative? All 32 teams have a representative. They set up a little board, and they can go into the NFL meetings, the owner meetings, and have some kind of say, or at least an illusion that they have some kind of say in what the hell's going on. Instead, they have these stupid Bud Light commercials, or contests, rather, where they're allowed to go up there and say the pick. They roll up with these guys with the microphones over their head, and they're, all dressed up. And they've been talking about leaving Radio City Music Hall for a number of years now and spreading the wealth. Bring it out to L.A. We need something out here. Although I do think the fans at Radio City Music Hall are funny. When you get teams like Jacksonville Jaguars with the 32nd pick, you just hear some guy goes, "Who cares?" I'm a sucker for that type of humor. What else do I even want to talk about today? I got too much to talk about. Jordan Lynch, who I thought was, I pushed him as a Heisman candidate, signed with the Bears today, but as a running back, it's going to go over like a Led Zeppelin. Jordan Lynch is really going to end up being a running back, tailback in that system. Again, I don't know why they can't come up with some kind of minor league thing. Tried it with NFL Europe. Was NFL Europe that much of a disaster? NFL still couldn't be able to pull that off, have 7 or 8 teams in Europe, so they don't have to drag a team of 2 teams 3 times a year over to freaking London. Give them the minor leagues. These guys that didn't get drafted, can't go back to college. Like we talked about, why don't they go to NFL Europe? They said 44% of the 194 underclassmen have declared in the last 3 drafts have gone undrafted, are not on rosters by the end of 2013. So the 11 draft, 12 draft, 13 draft, almost half of those underclassmen that declared were not on NFL rosters. What are those guys doing? I don't know. Probably drinking purple drink with Jamarcus Russell somewhere, or playing in some kind of semi-pro league. NFL can't come up with a spring football. There couldn't be a football right now going on. This goes back to my theory that people really don't like football as much as like pulling for teams, like being tribal and wearing their shirts and tailgating and stuff, but actually don't like watching football. You're going to see, this is one of the trends that you're going to see going on, and, I think it's actually worthwhile. A team like the Indianapolis Colts goes out and signs University of Miami basketball player Eric Swoop, 6'5", 220, went out and signed him today. Never played a lick of football in his life. But if I was an NFL scout, I'd be pounding those mid-major basketball schools. You can find guys like your Antonio Gates, Jimmy Grahams. You'd think there's got to be a number of them. Because, look, I don't want to mince words here. I think the best athletes in the world are NBA players. They're big, fast, endurance, strong, somewhat. Some of them are weaker than dishwater, but it's the way, not everyone be strong. They don't put a lot in their weight rooms. Doc Rivers is saying he was in 9th in the league until a team had a full-time weight room that he played for in the 90s. Which guys are bigger and stronger now. Evolution. Reading a book called The Sports Gene. I recommend, if you're listening, to pick that up. Talks about all types of I'm going to get into that some other point, but it's a great book, Sports Gene, talking about what it takes in the variance of the gene pools in different parts of the world. Makes you look at things differently. Because I don't care what you say. It's all about genetics and opportunity. If the guy's got the right genetics and he has the right opportunity and he doesn't completely screw things up, then they'll be all right. Number one thing, though, gotta have the genetics. And the NFL draft, last thing I'll leave you with, the NFL draft proves once again that the only thing that matters in the sports world is the NFL. NFL draft, I don't even know what these ratings mean, but just in scope of numbers, drew a 6.8 rating compared to NBA playoffs, grabbing 2.5. And hockey playoffs, which are the best playoffs to watch, by the way. If you're actually interested in watching sports that are exciting all the time. Bruins, Montreal only got a 1.2. So the NFL draft was roughly 7 times more popular than the NHL. Also, they said, according to Pornhub.com, that internet pornography traffic went down 25% during the first round of the NFL draft on Thursday night. Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense to someone like me. I wasn't using my Kindle Fire for any Red Book or anything like that. It was all looking up Wikipedia and draft.com and all the guys that got picked up. Oh, it's a sad state of affairs. It's like when you watch those and all the commercials during the draft is always for like Viagra or hair loss products and things like that. Or Richard Sherman trying to sell me beef jerky. Oh, I wish Richard Sherman would just go away. But I don't think he's gonna. He's too talented. Seattle's going to be there for a while anyway. All right, that's it. I only got about 50 seconds left. Next week, I will be on next Monday, I believe. Not Sunday night. Pushing on, and then I'm going to be flying back to Massachusetts for a wedding. So next 2 Sundays I won't be on. We'll be on next Monday. That's it. I'm the coach. Follow us on Twitter at HardYardsLA.com. Hit it.